Hello students, today we will discuss about the peace of the Augustan age. The title The Peace of the Augustans applied to the age of Trident and Pope. George Sainsbury wrote a book, The Peace of the Augustans, in which he described the history of the Restoration and the 18th century literature. The restoration of monarchy in England marked the beginning of the Augustan age, which flourished in the age of Pope. The coming of Charles II to the throne of England was compared to the restoration of Augustus Caesar in Rome in 31 BC. Dryden wrote. First, the Augustan age in Roman history. The region of Augustus Caesar is known as the Golden Age in Roman history. This age is often compared with the age of Louis XIV in France and the region of Chandragupta Ditya in Indian history. The Augustan age witnessed an all-round development in art and literature, trade and commerce, which brought in lasting peace and prosperity in its wake. In literature, it was an age of Virgil, Horace, and Ovid. In the 44 years of his reign, he reshaped the Roman world and reorganized the Roman state to ensure the peace he had made. It was a God who gave us the peace, cried the countryman in Virgil. Next, 18th century England as the Augustan age in literature. 18th century in England was the self-styled Augustan age, that is, an age equal to the age of Augustus Caesar, when Roman society had reached a highest peak of glory than ever before or after. The name Augustan age was chosen by the writers themselves, who saw in Pope Addition Swift Johnson and work the modern parallels to Horace, Virgil, Cicero, and all that brilliant company who made Roman literature famous in the days of Augustus. The optimism of the 18th century meant the belief that society had reached the higher point of progress. Next, in an age of peace and prosperity. After the restoration of monarchy in 1660, England saw an era of apparent peace and prosperity. No doubt there were no such social calamities and upheavals as the Black Death of 1348, the Great Fire of London 1616, the Glorious Revolution in 1668, the Dutch Wars, the 7 Years' War. England marched on the road of peace and prosperity, giving balanced social picture of the first half of the 18th century. E. Albert remarks, after the succession of the House of Hanover, the first half of the 18th century was a period of stabilization and steadily growing wealth and prosperity. The evils of the approaching industrial revolution had not yet been realized, and the country is still free from any suggestion of acrimonious rule in which local government rested on the squires, typified by Sir Roger de Coverley. It was an age of tolerance, moderation, and common sense, which, in cultural circles at least, sought to refine manners and introduce into life the rule of sweet reasonableness. The balance of political power, in spite of the 50 years superiority of the Whig oligarchy, was so even as to prelude fanatical party policies, while the established church pursued a placid middle way and all religion was free from strife over dogma and fantasism, which it called enthusiasm, until Wesley and Whitefield began the evangelical revival. Next, an age of classicism or new classicism in literature. In the work of Dryden and his followers, we see a revival of classicism in effort to make English literature conform to rules established by the great writers of other nations. They demanded that poetry should follow exact rules, and in this they were influenced by French writing, especially by Rapin, who insisted on precise methods of writing poetry and who professed to have discovered their rules in the classics of Horace and Aristotle. Pope laid down as a final test of excellence. Next, dominance of the heroic couplet. The heroic couplet consists of two iambic pentameters rhyming together. It is called heroic because it was the usual form for epic words in English celebrating heroic exploits. It had also been used for narrative, satiric, descriptive drama, polemics, and exposition. It was first introduced in English celebrating by Chaucer in the Canterbury Tales. The tradition was passed on the Elizabethans by the Scottish poet Harry in his Wallace. Marlowe used it in his Hero and Leander. In the 17th century, the heroic couplet was used by Edmund Waller and Dryden, and it attained a perfect finish in the hands of Pope. The apogee of the heroic couplet was reached in the Augustan age of English literature, and Pope was unrivaled in the use of heroic couplet. He made his lines and epigrammatic as it was possible in the hands of Pope. Heroic couplet acquired an incomparable effectiveness. His couplets are masterpieces of compactness, and they are eminently quotable. For example, the proper study of mankind is man, a little learning is a dangerous thing. Next, an age of prose and satire. The new classical age was primarily an age of prose, though Dryden was a poet and dramatist of repute. He was still greater as a writer of prose. He was the first great modern prose writer, as also the first great modern critic. In Dryden's time, prose begins definitely to find its feet. It acquires a general utility and a permanence. It is smooth and straightened, simplified and permanent. It is smoothed, harmonized. This is the age of average prose and prepares the way for the work of Swift and Addison, who stand on the threshold of the modern prose style. The age of Pope intensified the movement that began after the Restoration. The Pope was a poet, yet in his poetry we find the characteristics of good prose, neatness and perspicuity, uniformity and balance, age and point in style and correctness in technique. Rossetti said that Pope's was a prose style twisted into verse, and Matthew Arnold declared that Dryden and Pope were the classics of prose and not of poetry. The other great writers of the age were all prose writers of eminence. Swift, Defoe, Addison, and Steele wrote a type of prose which is still held in high esteem. The graceful elegance of Addison's sage essays, the terse vigor of Swift's satire, the artistic finish of Fielding's novel, the snort Horace, eloquence of Gibbon's history and of Burke's orations. These have no parallel in the poetry of the age. Indeed, poetry itself prosaic in the respect that it was used not for creative works of imagination, but for essays, for satire, for criticism, for exactly the same practical ends as was prose. Besides the development of modern prose, the age of prose was remarkable for the rise of periodical literature and the growth of the essay. Satire was also characteristic product of the early 18th century. It was cultivated both in poetry and prose. Swift's Gulliver Travel, Pope the Dunciad, and Rape of the Lock and the Spectator, Papers of Addition and Steele are the best example of satire in the age. While the satires of Pope, Swift, and Addition and Steele are doubtless the best in English language, we hardly place them with great English literature, which is always constructive in spirit. And we have the feelings that all these men were capable of better things than they ever wrote. The epithet Augustan was applied to the age of Pope, though it is often used more broadly to cover the whole period between 1660 and 1745. The phrase Augustan was used as the term of high praising, indicating that the age of Pope was the golden age of English literature, as the age of Augustus was the golden age of Latin literature. And this is not now the modern view. The original meaning of the word has disappeared, but we may still employ between the English literature of the first half of the 18th century.